taxation.
And I believed in progressive politics, which was...
The 26th, we came to an agreement that we have to form an action committee.
My 4 years daughter was holding the banner as well.
The whole society's structure will change and that...
বেশিরভাগ লোকজন শেখ মুজিবের পক্ষে ছিল, আওয়ামী লীগের পক্ষে ছিল।
So Birmingham Action Committee was formed. I come from Kishorganj. At that time, in the district of Mymensingh, now Kishorganj is a district itself. I had my secondary education from Azimuddin High School and I graduated from Gurudwal College. After that, I went into teaching. Before coming here, I was a teacher at Bajitpur High School. It had been my intention always to study chartered accountancy. So when an opportunity came, I came to this country. It was not easy to find an articles. It was so difficult at that time. I could not imagine. But people who came before me from Bangladesh, particularly from the district of Sylhet, they were wonderful help. When I went to the night college, because I used to in London, and thereafter I came to Leicester. It was in '64. At that time, people were just coming, but there were other people who came before. When I came here, I met some people, and the Azizul Haq Bhuiya, whom I shall refer to during our liberation struggle discussion as well. I met him there in London. I had no relatives in here. I was not rich enough to stay in a hotel all the time. The education, the graduation I had, I felt it was just to, bring myself up to date with the cultural side and also some of the things I did not know. I got into night college, but somehow I had to maintain myself. So I went into job in factories and used to work during daytime. In the evening, I went to night college. But the people I started to talk about, the helpfulness. When I came, Master Sahib, you have had a long day. Here is our curry and rice. You don't have to cook. Just let's share whatever we have cooked. This was the wonderful time. And without their help, I don't know, probably it was not only me. There must have been hundreds and thousands of it. Is the generosity of the people who were before me. That was fantastic, just unforgettable. However, in London, the amount of money I was offered for my articles, it was almost negligible. I could pay my rent for that's all. But the other, it would have been impossible. By that time, Azizul Bhuiya, he came to Leicester. He said, why don't you try Leicester instead? I'm here, so you can stay with me. So I said, okay, I will. So I came to Leicester, and so, yes, it's a nice city, and there is a prospect of getting a place in here as well. But that was a struggle as well. And going to the night college and then also, okay, articleship probably won't be available. I will get another branch of accountancy. So I went into costing, and when I passed the first two parts, I was offered my articleship in a firm of chartered accountancy in Leicester, and so I got in there. At that time, I also met Joglul Pasha, someone who became a very good friend. So thereby I lost about 2 years, but just to get into the course I wanted to do. By that time, Mr. Pasha and Azizul Bhuiya, they left Leicester and came to Birmingham. My two best friends left Leicester, and practically every weekend. I got onto the bus on Friday and went back there on Sunday night in a bus. At that time, there was a straight bus. There was one bus from Birmingham to Coventry and Coventry to Leicester, but you could, go it in 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, more or less, very straight communication it was. And I used to do that every weekend. Therefrom, I was somehow, when the things went very wrong in the country, got involved in the liberation struggle because, it's my family, there was no trace, could not contact them. It was 1970 when I started coming to Birmingham, but at that time I was still, because I was doing my articles in Leicester. I came to Birmingham on the weekend basis and just spent the weekend and then went back every weekend. That is how the connection with and in the process I also came to know many people. Is it in connection with the liberation? Yes. Azizul Haq Bhuiya, Joglul Pasha, and a couple of other friends. But these two people I had very close contact with. Particularly Joglul Pasha, he was the only married person and he had a house and I used to live in both Aziz and myself, we used to live in rented accommodation. So in the weekend, we used to actually stay in their house and our main discussion initially, when I met him in '64, it was the common interest in political discussion about the politics in here, about what is happening in Bangladesh, at that time East Pakistan, or Pakistan, and in general politics. And Joglul Pasha was studying Bharat law, so naturally there were some interest in this field. And this common interest actually turned into a quite, a close relationship as friends. At that time, there was also something we felt. Actually, we felt that from our, when I was back in Bangladesh, a sense of being exploited by Pakistan. You would not imagine. There was, when I was at college, there was shortage of paper, just blank white paper. Then a factory was established or built, Cornfully paper mills. Anything we produced in Bangladesh, it used to go to Karachi. They exported it to us and then it became available to all over. There was so much scarcity of writing paper. This is just an example. The export of things in education, in industrial development, everything was happening in Pakistan. So we, as students, felt very aggrieved about it, but could not do anything. So amongst us, with a group of people, that gradually crystallized, and also we could see that the things were getting from bad to worse. Then, 1968, towards the end of 1968, Bangabandhu arrested for Agartala conspiracy case. That actually came as a shock to us. We didn't expect that to happen. Not only that, along with him, I think there were 34 or 35 people who were put to prison. And we also knew that from 1968 to early February, March of 1969, more than 1,500 people were arrested only for political reason. And then I think some surgeon, one of those 35 people who were arrested alongside Bangabandhu, he was shot dead, point blank in prison by a Pakistani officer. That infuriated all the people in Bangladesh, I should say. And we also practically was very, very upset. And when I think about it, what happened, it makes me very sad indeed. So what we thought, what could we do? We can't just sit here while in the country there is something. As a matter of fact, without breaking the law or anything, what can we do? There is one thing we can do is to cripple Pakistan from the monetary side. We send the Bengalis in here, work hard, and send the money to Pakistan. And the money, the foreign exchange they get, they spend it in West Pakistan. They have desalinized most of their land, where in Bangladesh, the farmers and everybody, every year there was flood, but not very much done about the flood control or the improvement of agriculture. So anyway, but from the political side at that time, I think that was the limit that we thought we could tolerate. So we formed secretly, we formed an organization. It is not only us. At that time, in every city, Manchester, London in particular, Birmingham, Leicester, in every city, people who felt like us, they started to form an organization just to do something about the country. So in Birmingham, under the chairmanship of Subur Chaudhry, you might have heard about his name, Subur Chaudhry, we formed a secret organization which is East Pakistan Liberation Front. Now, doing that with the full knowledge that if the names of any of us go to Pakistan, that will be the end of the connection that we have with our country. We will never be allowed to go back, or even if we do, we will also be put to prison. Anyway, so we started to work secretly. Used to write small paper, a newspaper like fortnightly, Bidrohi Bangla, and distribute it to giving all the events that were happening. And at this time, there was no Jonamoth, no other paper. But we used to publicize this is what is happening in the country. So if you do have to send your money to support the family, then don't use Pakistani bank. But at that time, there was no other bank that would handle. So if possible, don't send any money at all. And if you do, well, find your other way. That means there were lots of what is called hundi at that time. Unfortunately, yes, we did advise. But that is so that the Pakistan government does not get as much foreign exchange as they were getting from the Bengalis' hard labor. That was basically our activity, but for that, gathering information and then spreading it according in our community. So in '69, Sheikh Mujib also got released because of the uprising in Bangladesh. The uprising, I think, was due to the shooting of that surgeon. I am not sure whether his name was Musharraf Hussain or somebody. Anyway, forgotten all that. But there was an uprising. And the government house in which the person who would chair first of all, they thought about court-martialing Sheikh Mujib, you see. And then they thought, no, court-martialing probably will not be the right thing to do. Let's try civil court in secret. But at that time, that incidents of shooting happened, and there was uprising. In the uprising, I think the government house was set on fire. In that fire, some of the documents which they collected against or they prepared against Sheikh Mujib actually got burnt. Either because of they lost one, and the defense barrister was from England. And then either because of that or because of the uprising in Bangladesh, they dropped Agartala conspiracy case and Sheikh Mujib was released. So that was a relief, but it bolstered our aspiration of. Unfortunately, at that time there was also a severe cyclone in which thousands and thousands of people died. That Pakistani government did nothing, practically nothing to help the people. That was a time when we thought, look, crippling Pakistan financially is not good enough. Let's do something more, that is to make the country independent. That was our motive, and we talked to people in small gatherings and in friend cycles just to spread the idea. Towards the end of 1970, November, December time, Sheikh Mujib came to visit London. From this time, we came out in the open. East Pakistan Liberation Front was no longer an underground organization or working discreetly. It came out in the open, and we used to hold meetings, small meetings, gatherings, and clearly say our grievances against Pakistan. But the police and everybody else were very sympathetic to, or they ignored us as the British. Always, as long as you don't take law into your hand or attack physically anybody, they will not say anything. We organized a meeting at Digbeth Civic Hall and invited Sheikh Mujib to come. He agreed. We told him what we were doing and everything. He just listened, did not say yes, well done, or he did not say don't. He kept smoking his pipe and listening to us. But the fact that he listened to us and he came to the meeting we organized was good enough. His consent, we took it. And after the meeting, it was towards the end of November. He went back to, then there was election, and in the election, swiped almost all the seats were actually won by Awami League. Virtually, at that time, he would have been offered the premier according to the constitution. Pakistan did not agree to it, especially Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. He opposed it. He said, over my dead body, that some Bengali or Sheikh Mujib will be the Prime Minister of Pakistan, which involved, of course, he joined Pakistan at that time. That was not also taken very happily. So we were, the things developed quite fast in Bangladesh. There were many incidences to cut short. From 5th of March, things were a bit tense. Meeting was called at race course, most probably in Dhaka, on the 7th of March. Sheikh Mujib would declare independence. One important thing to remember, since the election, before the start of the war or the atrocities for that matter, the Pakistanis had been importing arms, ammunition from Bangladesh. They were building up they knew what they were doing or what they would be doing. So we thought to prevent further build-up of Pakistani forces, Sheikh Mujib would declare independence on the 7th of March. But he did not. He only, you have heard the speech in so many times that he had been talking about emancipation. And because of there were firing and everything in between, He said, if the forces or the government kills any more people, then we shall build fortresses in all our home, and whatever we shall fight them with whatever. The East Pakistan Liberation Front, they were as normal, they were circulating all these news to others. At that time, now we can say, how do you know what is happening? The only source was BBC, but that was also scarce. They wouldn't say, you had to go to Akashvani, Delhi, Doordarshan. We bought a radio with wavelength. That was also not very easy. You could not find radios with shortwave length. You used to sit down at the middle of night and get the news that was coming. Next morning, write it down, distribute it to other people. There were a number of people. It was not one thing that we could go to the press and other things. I used to collect information. That was, but my involvement in this was until 25th of March, 26th of March, was only in the weekends. Because as I said, I used to live in Leicester. To do that, there were a number of people. Safizur Rahman is called Dipu. He was within our group. Aizulvi was in our group. Sobur Chaudhary was in our group. Israel Mia, Waverly Road also. There was someone named Khan. And when it was formed, I'm one of the founding members of that EPLP. And so it was actually distributed. We used to pass on the information on the phone, and then somebody would write it. Dipu used to write some of the papers. I did some of them as well. But it was fortnightly, not everything. The rest of the information we just by word and mouth to different people. I had to bring in the Bangladesh because all these activities actually had a tremendous effect on what is going to happen in the UK from 5th of March or 7th of March till 25th of March. It was a time of, I can't describe it. If you feel very happy about something going to happen, anticipation and trepidation, fear. Anticipation that Sheikh Sahib is going to declare independence, so that's it. It will be done. And then the trepidation, what will happen? What are the consequences? What a bloodshed it may lead to. The Pakistanis are not going to, because they were building up what they were doing. We knew from here what they were doing. Whether people in Bangladesh knew or not, I don't know. I don't know. But the government circle and the parties and everybody, leadership, they knew what they were, I'm sure. That's why I had to mention the build-up of the army. So in here, we all who knew and who come to knew from us or other sources, well, it was a terrible 2 weeks. 2 weeks, we don't, I mean, the way we passed it. On the 26th of March, there was small reference of what happened in the morning, I mean, in Dhaka, the massacre that was caused. That was absolutely shattering. So I came from Leicester to Birmingham. In the evening, all the papers, actually, all the papers in this country and the radio, television, they were saying about the atrocities which has been committed in Bangladesh. Bhuya, myself, Joglur Pasha, Sobur Chaudhary, and all who were involved in the EPLF sat down and said, we got to do something. By that time, few other people also came. And Mr. Pasha's house has always been a visiting place for many people. As a would-be lawyer, and some people for help, and so there were many people used to come here, and also because of his personality, he used to he had a very good relations with everybody, friends of everybody, and enemy of none, that sort of person. Some people came, particularly Afruz Mia, if you have heard about his name. Afruz Mia, he phoned and said, "What do we do? We have to do something." I said, okay. The people started to gather at 52 Wordsworth Road, Mr. Pasha's house. Soon, we felt it would be an inadequate place. So Afruz Mia said, why not we go to he was the chairman of East Pakistan Workers' Federation or something it used to go. It was at Stratford Road, 93 Stratford Road, I think. So we moved over there. At that time, there were organizations in every street almost, you can say. So many people came. They wanted to do something about whatever, and somebody came to know exactly what, because everybody had families. After discussion to the late morning on the 26th, we came to an agreement that we have to form an action committee. So Birmingham Action Committee was formed with the consent, unanimous consent of everybody. Joglur Pasha was elected president of and Azizul Haq Bhuiya also as a secretary of the organization. We have formed an action committee. What do? We did not have any program. The program is on our, as we come and go basis, problem comes and we discuss. Beyond that, we did not do very much. So we said, at least we can hold a public meeting. So that was the single. But you cannot hold a public meeting without a place and also permission of the police. So okay, let's do it. So then our objective, East Pakistan Liberation Front, we said enough condemnation has been done. This time we are going to say we are an independent nation. We are going to raise a flag, whatever we can think of, and we are going to hold a public meeting and declare independence. The Bangladesh is an independent country, and here is our flag. Will be our Sheikh Sahib. That was all the agreement. On 27th of March, we saw the police commission head in here, Digbeth, asked their permission to hold a meeting at Small Heath Park. Because other than that, we did not see any convenient place for us to go. First of all, they hesitated and said, okay, we cannot give you permission just like that. We have to investigate further and then come tomorrow. That is 28th. So okay, permission will come, I'm sure. We started to publicize without even at that time getting the permission. They said there will be a meeting on Saturday, I think 4 o'clock at Small Heath Park to discuss the present situation. Please come. Now, we did not have mobile phone. Believe me, those people who had phone in their home, they rang around one to another and verbally by telephone. These were the only method of communication. We did not have time to prepare or publish a newsletter or anything about the meeting. By word and mouth and by telephone, it spread like fire throughout Birmingham and also the towns nearby. To our astonishment, we got permission next day. As we planned everything, we did not ask particularly for any police protection because we did not expect any. But the police thought it in a different way. However, we held a meeting in there. There were many people who gave speeches. The first thing we said, Bangladesh is no more a dependent or a subjugated country. We prepared a flag. The ladies, we gave them an outline, just basically more or less like the flag that came out with the map of Bangladesh in the middle. A green background, and the ladies there, they were working at Mr. Pasha's house overnight to prepare it, sewing up the pieces. Now, how do you involve everybody? It has to be a struggle of men, women, and children. Nobody is a. So we say, okay, let the ladies go. They will raise the flag. And who is going to hold it? At that time, some Mr. Ali, you may have heard about him. The Mr. Ali, he was the youngest lad and always very eager to do something. He said, he was come, hold this flag. And he was also quite willing to do anything. He came and held the flag, and that is on the 28th of March. 28th of March, we will raise the flag in Birmingham. And most probably it transpired, because a lot of activities were going on in London as well. So we did not realize that would be the first city to raise Bangladeshi flag openly outside Bangladesh. That was our first activity. In that meeting, there were several people, and some speeches were quite hot. There were some Pakistanis who started creating trouble. When other people went to stop them, Dr. Khalek was actually stabbed in his hand. So this is the injury. Immediately the police, we did not know would be there. They were here and dispersed those people. I think one or two people were arrested and taken away. So apart from that, there was no other incidents in there. People donated money. Mrs. Pasha, I think, gave away the jewelry she was wearing at that time for the cause. In following meetings, we discussed the publicity of what is happening in Bangladesh and to make the British people aware, because without their support, there is nothing we can do. We need money. Everybody would not take into account how difficult or impractical it would be. We would help, but our motto was to raise money and to help the freedom fighters in Bangladesh. So we had to create a fund, open the bank account, and somebody to look after. Now, I come and go from Leicester, but at that time I took 2 weeks leave from the office. They were quite sympathetic and said, okay, I will oversee the fundraising and the money, but somebody has to take the cash, and I can't do that. So Ismail Azad, he used to live at Lloyd Street. He was quite near 52 Wordsworth Road as well, so he would be, and he was interested, so he would do the collection and keep record of what is happening, and I will myself will oversee it. So everybody was happy with that. We started raising fund from morning to midnight, because people used to work shift. There were streams of people at 52 Wordsworth Road. They used to, after work, finishing the work, the first thought is, what is happening in Bangladesh? Any kono khobor ache kina? Is there any news? Is there any news? So we had to say all the bad news that was happening, whatever we could gather with our shortwave radio. On Fridays, when people used to get their wage packet used to come, not like nowadays, you get it in the bank, sent to you. They used to give in an envelope. People used to open there and say, here is some money. Mind you, at that time, At that time, 10 pound, 12 pound was the average with overtime. People's earnings out of that 1 pound. Even if somebody paid 1 pound, you have to remember that that is 10% of his wages for that week. It was a big thing. It does not sound very much nowadays, 1 pound. But at that time, it was from contribution. This is what they used to do. The amount we collected in Birmingham was not adequate to do anything to help the freedom fighters. A struggle we thought we were going through, or what was our objective, we had to do something else. So at that time, on the 25th of March, what happened in Bangladesh, Justice Abu Said Chowdhury, he was in Geneva on a human rights meeting. But when he heard about this, he came straight to London and contacted the Foreign Office in here and also the provisional government at that time in India. And he was appointed special emissary of Bangladesh in London. Now we approached him. A man of your stature can do something, and we are with you to help. About a month, 1971, April, towards the late April, it took us a month to organize ourselves, contact everybody, all the organizations, Justice Chowdhury in Coventry. And in there, we agreed to form an action committee. Action committee about bringing all the organizations in the United Kingdom under one leadership, and also to form one single organization they will control, as a federated organization. But members of London, Birmingham and everything, they will work on their own, but there will be one single finance fund for Bangladesh. And also what we do throughout the country, instead of following various programs, we should have one single leadership, that is Justice Chowdhury. He will advise us on those, and then, okay. So we had a steering committee formed. Justice Chowdhury became the advisor. Azizul Haq Bhuiya, he became the secretary, and there were 4 other members. One was Abdul Mannan, and I have forgotten the 3 others' name. And 2 of them actually did not come to the steering committee office very much because they used to live outside London. So mostly it was Mr. Mannan and Aziz who were involved in there. There were 3 objectives. One is to form one organization. Second is to form a strategy and to assist the fighting forces in Bangladesh. As far as I am concerned, it started going from London because Aziz, he became the secretary of Action Committee, and he also became, was the secretary in Birmingham Action Committee. So steering committee, Action Committee, steering London and Birmingham. In the meantime, also, instead of having many funds all over the country, let's form a single one. The steering committee formed one Bangladesh fund. We opened an account at Ambrose Bank, for which whatever official work need to do, I did it. After that came the question of, okay, we are going to ask people to donate money, that's one thing, but the most important thing is publicity. We have to take the British people with us, and not only the British people and the government, it is the international organizations which are. And from Birmingham, Action Committee under the chairmanship of Juglul Pasha wrote to various embassies, including U Thant probably was the Secretary General at that time, and then the sympathetic politicians like Robert Kennedy, we wrote to them, and they replied supporting our cause. Many embassies actually did the same, except of course, or the most ferocious, vehement opposition came from the United States. They were just contemptuous whenever we wanted to meet them or went to meet someone in their office, in their embassy, simply contemptuous, saying that many things. They don't want to create a beggar's bowl, another beggar's bowl, by supporting Bangladesh. You see, however, we went on undaunted, and in Birmingham also different meetings that we organized. We also organized through steering committee in London, working with other organizations, marches in Trafalgar Square and Hyde Park. We had several demonstrations and marches like this, both in Birmingham, in London, and the organizations in other parts of the UK, they did the same. At one time, from Birmingham, we were thinking, we heard about the IMF meeting. IMF officers were actually meeting in Paris to discuss financial aid to Pakistan. Our original intention was to cripple Pakistan from the financial side so that they do not, that is the main thing. They can't buy arms, ammunition if they don't have any money, or those who donate arms and ammunition, if we can stop them, that would be a big help. So we organized a demonstration in Paris. So some of us went there and demonstrated. They were quite sympathetic, and a couple of us from I was not in there. We asked them not to grant any money in view of the atrocities that is being committed in Bangladesh. Beyond our expectation, the British supported they postponed it for further discussion, and it was referred to in London. And subsequently, to our delight, suspended. They cancelled the aid program to Pakistan. So that was a big help from our point of view. Our activities also involved lobbying the MPs and also through, trying to influence the parliament. For months, I did not have any contact with my family at all. I did not know whether they were alive. I knew the armies were at Kishorganj, and we also heard what was happening in there to some extent, not everything. One thing personally, that is not through any organization, some people were stuck in Pakistan because some people went there to work. Some people were even in army at that time in Pakistan. They used to write to me in envelope, write to me and include letters to their relatives, requesting me to send it to Pakistan. So I opened them, put them in a new envelope, those letters, and then sent them to Pakistan. It used to be top on the top. When they came, it was censored. And they used to, as though they are writing to me, you see, they used, without mentioning anything about the war or atrocities, so it's just a private matter. We are okay, having their well-being apart from that. So those censored letters, when it came from there and came to me, I used to, the replies from Pakistan and then post it back to Bangladesh. It took quite a while for each one to get a reply from another one, but this is personally I used to do. The number of refugees that were going into India, that was, my family was one of the families that had to leave the country. My youngest sister, she only lived a quarter of a mile from, she was married to someone who was about a quarter mile from our house. When my father saw the house in the village was being burned down, there were fires and smoke, he said, enough is enough, let's leave. So went to my youngest sister's house. She was heavily pregnant at that time, but by the time my mother, youngest brother and father went to her house, she gave birth to a daughter. He said, okay, we can't wait. What do we do? So within half an hour of giving birth, my sister and the family had to flee. They got stuck in the, got in the bush and spent the rest of the day in there. At night, started to walk from Kishoreganj to Meghalaya. The whole path, they just walked and walked. At daytime, they used to hide in somebody's house. People were at that time risking their life to try to do that. And not all of them were Hindus. So in this respect, you have to salute those people. It is not only the army and the other things that we know. It's the ordinary people that actually got involved in the struggle and they try to share the pain and the suffering. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. So at that time, they went to Meghalaya, safe territory, after days of walking at night. And they stayed there in refugee camp for a few days. My elder sister actually migrated to India long time ago. So they had their house in there. So he said, instead of waiting at the day, they went there and stayed with my elder sister. That was the personal, or should I say, sufferings of my family. But I did not know anything of this until I heard from my, but it took months. I'm thankful that everybody is alive. But when I went to visit Kishoreganj after the war, the extent of the atrocities, if I can, there is a river dividing two parts of the town. On the bridge is the Narasunda River. People, it's taken there, shot and thrown in the river. This is what used to do. The school, Azimuddin High School, Mr. Mutiur Rahman, he was the kindest and the best person I can recall. The only fact that the Liberation Army built a tent in the football ground, the school football ground we used to play. The army came to his house and brought out his son and shot him in front of my headmaster, Mutiur Rahman. It's terrible thing. These sort of things that happened, that hurt me very much because he was such a good man. Yeah, that's the set up a camp, but it was soon overtaken by the Pakistani army because the resistance. They did not have proper equipment to fight the army, so soon it was taken. But the fact that they built a camp in the school ground is the cause of punishing the headmaster by bringing him out from his house and shooting him in front of the father. I mean, who can do this? What sort of mind? What the headmaster could do? He had been, funnily enough, a Muslim League member throughout his life, not even an Awami League member. But they did not take anything into consideration. This is the type of atrocities the Pakistani. Another sad thing that happened, he was also known to me from a zamindar or say quite a wealthy person of Gangatia. The army went there. He was not the man to go into politics or anything. He was not either. Not anything to do with anybody sort of man. The army went there, said, okay, so he entertained them here, said, it's okay, entertainment is fine, but we have come for a special purpose. What? We have to shoot you because you have been a bad influence on the people. We said, I have done nothing. So well, that is not the case. We will carry out, what we have been asked to. He said, okay, will you let me say my prayer? I said, okay, you can do this. He sat down and prayed. I said, okay, I'm ready. And then he was shot dead, point blank. The purpose is nothing else, just to terrorize the people so that they do not, according to their word, engage in any activities against the state. I will take you a little bit earlier then. As I said, our objective was to raising money and to help the fighting forces in Bangladesh. I remember a date when with Zafarullah Chaudhuri, we went to buy one ambulance, but that was £40,000 for a second-hand one. And then we thought, this is impossible. One ambulance, second hand, it will break down. Then what? There has to be some other way. We shall transport some arms and ammunition. Without justice, we shall organize it and obtain the Justice Chaudhury's approval afterwards. So we approached a neighboring country through which arms has to go, high official in India. We had a clandestine meeting in one evening, in one unlighted street in London. He actually gave us one very important information. By that time, Mrs. Gandhi was traveling around the world, telling people that it is impossible for India to support 10 million refugees. That was the message she was spreading all over. We did not realize at the time that she was planning to provide military help or attack. In that clandestine meeting with me, Aziz, that person, in that meeting, he gave us a sort of a clue. Think rationally. How much money have you raised altogether? At that time, it was only in our fund, 250,000 pounds. But subsequently, it went up when the other organizations deposited their money. Then he smiled. It will go in 2 minutes. If you send, even if, again, suppose we give you permission to send something from abroad, but it will go in 2 minutes. Or rather, carry on doing what you are doing, publicize, create public opinion. And if you can mobilize public opinion, can influence the MPs and the government, that will be the biggest thing you can do. And I cannot, she said, share you everything, but soon something is going to happen. Be assured, we are trying to help as much as possible. But please do not send any arms and ammunition. Will be of no use. So we got the message. We did not have to discuss it with Justice Chaudhury. Within days, I think within 7 days, then the news came that the war has started. That's the jubilation. Everybody was so hopeful, and everybody is anxious to know what was going on. And we tried to gather as much information as possible from the sources I've told you. It is the British press, televisions, radios. At that time it was full of what was happening. That is it. It was the happiest moment for everyone, not only those people who were involved in the struggle, even those people whoever, irrespective of any Bengali. And we had some support from other sources as well. When the Birmingham MP, Roy Hattersley, Peter Shore, and John Stonehouse was also one of the, and there were many MPs who were. We walked through the streets of London and in Birmingham. You may find some photographs in some places. I saw one in Mr. Pasha's house. He's in the front with a big garland. And Azul Guya, myself, and we were walking. That was a day of celebration, indeed. It is a feeling of hope and also a feeling of jubilation. I study still. The first thing I look at is the exchange rate, what the money is doing. When I see Pakistan or over 200 rupee to a pound, and Bangladesh is half of that, sometimes I saw even 140. That makes me very happy. Economy, this is what the strength lies. This is where actually the owner from respect from other nations and other people actually. If you are financially strong as a nation, then you have got everything. And when I see Bangladesh is doing well in the field of finance, industry, that is brilliant. I follow everything. It is a feeling of hope. The corruption and the lawlessness that people say there is, it makes me very despondent as well, very sad. But I hope it's like many developing nations when I see in the world. In many countries, democracy, law and order, they follow the wealth and education. So when the people start thinking that what is going on is wrong, and the government is allowed to concentrate on the development of side of people, that will be a day for Bangladesh. But I am very hopeful. The dream we had, it will be fulfilled one day. It is on its way.